My name is Andrew Stephen Rose. Welcome to the show. For years, I've been known as the gym guy. This show isn't about the gym. Some of it might be, but most of it is about business, it's about health, it's about your life, your relationships, and optimizing all of it to be the best you can be. So I am in the process of compiling a list of things I wish I knew. Or more specifically, lessons I wish I could teach myself at the age of 20. We all have those moments of hindsight of, I wish I would have done it this way. I wish I would have done it that way. If I would have known differently. But if there were a list of 15 things that you could tell your 20-year-old self, what would be on that list? So I started compiling that, and then I decided, these would be good topics of discussion, good topics for episodes, and especially today. The first one I want to talk about is learning to say no. Now, it actually is pretty contrary to a lot of the things that I've said in the past. When someone asks a question, I will typically say, the answer is always yes. We just have to figure out how. I'm going to go back on that. I'm going to rescind that from publication. And one of the things that I need to learn how to do myself, and I'm sure that you do as well, is to acquire the ability to tell people no. Now, that could be saying no to an opportunity, saying no to an experience, saying no to a friendship, a relationship, a business partnership. If you're like me and you want to help people, your propensity is to say yes when someone needs something or has an idea or some proposition, right? Like, hey, how do you think this would be a great opportunity? Let me run this by you. Now, in the business sense, if you're working on a business and someone approaches you with another idea, maybe a different business, asking yourself, does this other opportunity, does it take away time and resources from what I'm already doing? Or does it improve the project, the business that I'm already working on? I'll use my coaching business as an example. That's what I've done the longest, longer than I've owned a gym, longer than I've had a podcast. So, I'll even use this podcast as a reference point. When I was approached about recording a podcast, producing a podcast, editing the videos for the podcast, all of which takes a lot of time. Especially if it's the skill set that you don't already have, right? Coaching is something I can do in my sleep. I've done it for so long that the deliverables on the coaching component, they're pretty easy for me, right? So for me, when I acquire a new client, getting them set up and running, it's a pretty easy process that takes me about 48 hours from the moment that someone becomes a new client in my program to the moment that they're up and running. And I'm proud of that, but that's also taken over 2 decades to get to that point. Now, bring in the podcast. This episode, maybe it'll be 20, 30 minutes. I have no idea. I'm just going to talk, and where it ends up is where it ends up. But that's not the end of the process. Then there's the time to edit the video and cut it into different formats and add captions and edit the captions and produce YouTube artwork and things like that. That's not a skill set that I had before. It's a process that I have to go through that while I'm getting better at it, I'm getting faster and more efficient at it, it still diverts time and resources away from my main business, which is coaching. Now, when I agreed to create this podcast, it was with the intention of tying it into my coaching, which I have. And I'm thankful that I have clients that I work with that are listening to this podcast right now. It's why I do it, because it adds a little bit more value to what I do as a coach. So that is an example of an opportunity that, saying yes to it had a positive outcome, right? Or it's having a positive outcome because it allows me to provide more value, not just to the people that I already work with, but to the people that are watching and consuming content thinking, maybe this guy's someone that I want to hire as a coach. So in my book, that was one of those instances where I shouldn't have said no, and I'm glad that I didn't. Now, there's other things in life, right? So different opportunities. There's one that comes to mind when it comes to the gym, um, where I was approached shortly after opening the gym by another company to add a feature to their platform where people would have access to the gym that don't have memberships. So what that does is takes time for me to then work through another company's platform to get members in my gym. Then you have to ask yourself, like, okay, is this a positive ROI? I'm investing my time, which, while I'm not financially investing an hour of my time dedicated to this over here, takes an hour that I could be getting paid X amount of dollars for doing another job, doing something else in terms of business. So I look at that and think that's an opportunity that I should have said no to. But at the time, didn't, when things are coming at you, ideas are coming at you, and you're excited and you're ready to rock and roll, you just want to say yes because, in a way, it keeps the momentum going. So you allow it in. You provide it with oxygen. But what it does is diverts resources away from what you're trying to accomplish. Has it improved my business? Has it made the business money? Has it provided me with a positive outcome? The answer to that question in this specific topic is no. So then you backtrack a little bit and go, okay, what do I need to cut out? What do I need to start saying no to now when it comes to fitness, your training, your nutrition? What I'm finding in the interactions that I'm having with guys on the internet, guys that come into my social media, and guys that are consuming my content, and I'm spending a lot of time talking to everybody, and there's the very common theme is a lot of people like to consume massive quantities of content. They just keep saying yes to more and more and more. And you have this bucket of information. And now there might be a solution to your problem somewhere in that bucket. You keep filling the bucket with more solutions. So you never actually try one. You're looking for the right one, but you're not trying anything that comes in. You just keep looking. That magically at some point, the right solution is just going to present itself. And one of the things that I say most often, especially if I'm in a call with someone, is it's not the program that works. And yes, I know that my coaching program works because I've done it. I didn't just create it, I've lived it. So I know it works. I've got the data to back it up. You might not know that. And a lot of people want to keep looking for the right program or the right solution, but they haven't executed on any of them. They just have a bucket of ideas and no execution. They keep saying yes to bringing in more instead of saying no. I'm going to try what's in front of me. I've often referred to it as the shotgun method, right? If you shoot something with a shotgun, you might hit it, but which BB, right? Which piece of shot actually hit the target? And the flip side of that is refining things and treating it more like a sniper. One shot, very accurate on the target. You know that one shot worked. But you don't know that one shot will work unless you practice it over and over and over again so diligently that you are prepared to make that shot in any condition, under any amount of stress, rain, shine, hot, cold. You know, because you've executed so many times, that that one precision shot will hit its target. The gun that you use, the bullet that you use, the rangefinder that you use, the scope that you use, they're all important. But if you practice specifically with that one tool until you have mastered it, it will work. It's not it's not the gun, it's not the bullet, it's the sniper. Does that make sense? You can give anybody a shotgun, and as long as they're close enough to the target, they'll hit the target. It's almost foolproof. But you don't know how. How do you repeat it? How do you repeat that accuracy? And when it comes to training and nutrition, it's very, sometimes it gets under my nerves, or under my skin a little bit. It gets on my nerves, rather. Because posing a solution to someone who's looking for the right one can be frustrating. Because I can say, we'll do X, Y, and Z, and this is the outcome. I can almost guarantee that outcome because I know the system works, because I've practiced it and refined it so many times. So saying yes to that process of adding in more information and looking and researching, and instead of finding something and trusting in it and investing in it and doing all you can do to make that work. Unless you've done that, you can't say for certain that that process or that program worked or didn't work. When it comes to, responsibilities, right? We're all busy. If you're a business owner or a parent, it, everyone's going to want some of your time. Your friends are going to want some of your time, and family is going to want some time. And obviously, you have time for your kids and athletic events and all of those things. And there comes a point where you cannot say yes to it all and still stay true to yourself and what you're trying to accomplish. So, it's as simple as a power lifter. People assume, right? This happened to my training partner and I quite often. It's like, hey, can you help us move this stuff? Because powerlifters are good at moving stuff, right? So, $20 here, $20 there, $100 here, help us move this stuff. And you realize, the return, what's the risk? If we're training for a competition and we help someone move a piano, this actually happened. I'm telling a story that actually happened. I'm not making this shit up. Move this piano up a flight of stairs. Now, if you've ever been to Charleston, houses downtown don't generally have the widest staircases. So, we were approached to help someone move a piano into their second floor apartment, and we showed up, and there was two movers. Um, so there was four of us moving this piano, but there's no way you can fit four people in the stairwell and the piano. So it ended up being my friend and I moving this piano. One of us underneath it at the bottom, and one of us at the top. One was pushing, one was pulling, and here we are training for a competition. And I slipped at one point, and I was at the top of the stairs pulling up. We had the moving straps, and I'm pulling up on this giant piano, and he's below me on the stairs pushing up, and I slipped on the steps, um, and I ended up on my ass. Now, thankfully, no one got hurt. The piano didn't slide down the stairs, but that was one of those moments where, in the blink of an eye, both of us could have gotten hurt. Him obviously more than I, because he was below the piano. And I ended up, like, I tweaked my back or something, and that affected me for a couple of weeks after that move. And it really was one of those moments. And as I was getting ready to record this episode, I'm thinking of exact examples of times when I've said yes when I probably should have said no. um, and this is a perfect example of it. And the problem, and I think the reason most of us don't say no is because saying no is hard. Hearing no is very difficult. When you say no to an opportunity or a situation or something that's not going to help you get closer to your goal or your mission or your vision, sometimes we feel guilty for that because we're taught to help others. We're taught to hear others, but that doesn't mean we always have to say yes. When it comes to relationships, this is a big one. Sometimes you find yourself in a relationship that you want to work, that you really feel strongly about, but for one reason or another, there's signs and symptoms of, okay, this isn't a good experience. It's not filling my cup, so to speak, right? It's draining from my bucket. It's not adding to it. And you continue to pour into that bucket. And there does come a point where you have to ask yourself, is this me? Is this what I need? Is this, and I hesitate to say, is it a positive ROI? Because you can't, relationships are, touchy when it comes to investing your time, and time is a very valuable resource. You've heard me say it before. Time is a non-renewable resource, so the time that you put in, you don't get back. Those sands run through that hourglass. They don't come back. So when you have a relationship that is costing you time and resources and peace and any of those things, they're so intangible, it's hard to describe. But if you have been there, you know what I'm talking about. And it's hard, and I've always struggled with this, is when something doesn't have you in the right place, and it's starting to cost you in other areas of your life. And you might be there yourself. It might be a romantic relationship, might even be a friendship or a relationship with a family member. And you are pouring into it, and you're realizing that whatever, and I'm looking down at my notebook here, because I wrote down ideas. And one of the things I wrote down was, talking about your vision for yourself, your goals, what you want to accomplish. And yes, that is applicable to business, to family, relationships, your fitness, those things that are important to you. Is your relationship drawing from that, or is it helping fulfill that? Is that interaction, is that person, or are those people in your life getting you closer to your goal, getting you closer to your vision, or are they pulling you farther away? If you've got friends that are partiers, right, and you're you're over here, you're trying to build a business, and your business requires you to invest a lot of time, and your friends want you to hang out, hang out with them, and they're happy with their 9 to 5, doing their thing, going to work, going to home, going out, drinking, doing the thing. And when you go out and drink with them, one drink turns into three, turns into now you're eating like shit, turns into you have a hangover the next day, but you had an early day planned and now you're starting to move slow, right? Maybe you wanted to start at 6 in the morning, but you didn't wake up till 7 or 8, and you woke up and you have a hangover. Now you're going to spend a couple hours nursing your hangover. You got to get hydrated. If it's that bad, you're going to go get your IV or whatever, and pretty soon it's 12:30, 1 o'clock, and you've lost a half a day of productivity, because you said yes to something that didn't add to your vision, didn't help you get closer to your vision. And that's a difficult thing to do. And this is the reason I'm talking about it, is I'm being very self-reflective about how I've gotten to where I am in my life. As I sit in this office and record, um, as I hear the gym on the other side of the wall, and the members are in and they're training in the afternoon, and you know the time and energy that I'm dedicating to this, whether it's this podcast, whether it's my coaching, whether it's the members in the gym, what are the things in my life that I'm saying yes to? What are the things in my life that I'm allowing in? What are the things that I'm allowing to take my oxygen? What are the things that I'm giving my oxygen to? My energy and resources that are taking away from what I'm trying to accomplish. And it's, to be honest, it's a hard conversation to have with yourself. It's I've gone so far as to write pro and con lists for different things in my life. Let's suppose I've taken the year off from bodybuilding because I, I don't have the energy and the resources to spare to get ready for a bodybuilding show, not to the level that I want to compete at. So I made the decision to take the year off and compete next summer. What's now September? So if I'm going to compete next summer, the preparation starts now, because if I'm going to diet for 16 to 20 weeks, I've got to spend at least that much time putting on mass, putting on muscle, training harder, which takes time, which requires me to sacrifice the time that I have to make this podcast, which requires me to take time away from coaching my athletes and my clients, which takes time away from my family, which takes time away from relationships. Is that worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze? And it's a difficult question to ask or it's a difficult question to answer, because we're emotionally tied to the reaction that other people, or the perceived reaction to other people, from other people rather, if we say no. It's disappointing to hear no. When people ask you, hey, can you do X? Well, that's a yes or no question. They don't want to hear no. I don't want to hear no. If I'm on the phone with a potential client and I'm I'm pitching my training program to them, and they say no, I don't want to hear it. I don't like it. I want them to say yes. But this brings up a very important part of the conversation. And I didn't make this up. I've heard it elsewhere, and it's not just one place I've heard it, it's been multiple places. But if the answer isn't fuck yes, then it's a no. Say that again. If the answer to the question isn't a fuck yes, then it's a no. Let that sink in. So, whatever it is that you're working on, your relationship, your business, yourself, when something arises that is asking you to invest time and resources elsewhere, ask yourself that question. Is it a fuck yes or is it a no? And it's black and white. Maybe I'll even edit this video so it's black and white just for effect because I'm dramatic like that. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever, I'm sorry you can't see it. You should probably watch it on YouTube. But this topic of saying no it's so important to my life right now that it's the first thing I wrote down as I sat down, and on the top of this page is the 15 lessons I wish I knew. This is number one, because as I was growing up, as you're a teenager, your early 20s, as opportunities come your way, you haven't had a lot of life experience. So you feel the need to say yes. And there was a time when I first started training clients in Pittsburgh. I never said no. Every client that came my way, I said yes. Every referral, every appointment, I always said yes. You work on a Sunday. You come in on a Sunday afternoon. You work late on a Saturday night. I always said yes. And yes, there is a point where, if you're just starting out, it's really hard to say no because you're afraid to lose something. But hear me out. Saying no to something, saying no to someone isn't always a loss. Saying no can be a gain. It can be a win. Because when you say no to something over here, it gives way to be able to say yes to something over here. Or it gives way for you to continue doing what you're doing, but do it better. When I first put some ideas down on how I wanted this podcast to go, and you can even go back to the intro episode, and maybe I'll link that episode to this video, and what I talked about, how I wanted the show to go and why it was here. And originally, I didn't want it to have a tie to fitness. But then I realized now I'm creating two things here. I've got my coaching business here, that's my bread and butter. That's what I'm good at. That's the thing that I want. It's the thing that brings me joy. When I hear from my clients and I follow what they're doing and I'm getting feedback and I'm seeing their success, it fills my cup because my system's working in real time. But if I add something over here, right, I'll use this podcast as an example. As I record episodes and it takes me countless hours to edit, to produce, to get it launched, artwork, all that stuff, it's taking away from this over here. Every minute that I spend in front of this microphone is a minute that I'm spending away from building the thing that brings me joy. Is this podcast fun? Yeah, I love it. Is it becoming more fun because I'm starting to tie it in and I'm starting to align myself with guests that aren't just, they're not talking about fitness. They're talking about mindset. They're talking about building their lives, changing their lives, and the stories of what they've walked through and the challenges that they've had to overcome. It's so applicable to the lessons that I teach to my clients and my athletes that, to me, it's an incredibly valuable piece. I didn't see it coming, not this way. So saying yes to this was it was scary because at the time it was, I'm starting another project, and um, Josh, the guy that I work with for my marketing of my coaching business, I've known Josh for years. He knows, he's known me long enough to know how I work and where my strengths are, where my weaknesses are, and you know when I launched the podcast page, my podcast Instagram, he's like, "Wait, you got an Instagram? What's going on?" Because he had just finished telling me, like, "Dude, put all of your energy into this bucket. If you just pour all into this, it will work." And the truth in the matter is, he's right. I was listening to Alex Hormozy, and he's got a lot of great content. And one of the things that I hear repeatedly, and I'm drilling it into my head, that's why I listen to them, is when you have a business, when you have a goal, maybe it's a fitness goal, relationship goal, you have to pour everything into it. So once you get good at one thing, continue to do that thing and make that one thing better and better and better. So where this ties into saying no is all of the areas of your life where things are pulling at you, right? Things are drawing from your bucket. You have to take a hard look at what's the cost. What's the cost of saying yes? What's the cost of saying yes to this person? What's the cost of saying yes to this night out? Um, what's the cost of eating this food? What's the cost of working with an outside company to bring members into your gym? Is it a positive ROI? So really, what I want you to get from this episode is just an understanding and an honesty with where you're at, and take stock, make a list. I'm really big on lists, if you haven't noticed that. Take stock of the people, the things, the experiences that are in your life, that are coming into your life, that are asking of you, and the energy that you have to give toward those things. Is it getting you closer to what you're trying to accomplish? Is it in line with your vision? Or is it drawing you farther away? And if that answer is yes, it's drawing me farther away, then you have to make a hard push to say no. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm speaking from life experience. There's a lot of times where I've said yes to people and experiences that aren't inherently bad. But as time goes on and you invest more time and energy into that experience or those people or that person, is it drawing you farther away from your mission, from your goal, from your vision? Is it drawing you farther away from the thing that brings you joy, that creates peace in your life, that you're just excited to do? It's not just about business. It's not just about a relationship. It's not just about training and nutrition. This is something that's applicable to every area of your life. You might not go to a gym. You might be listening to this and you're like, I ain't going to the gym. Training's stupid. That's fine. But the concept is applicable across so many different genres. So that's, lesson number one. If I could go back to 20-year-old me, as I was a college athlete and getting into training, and so many opportunities were coming up, and I was spread in too many different directions. I got like 37 balls in the air, right? You're trying to balance it all. And sometimes, in that instance, I wish I could go back and teach me how to say no, but I can't. That's that's the irony behind this list, right? They're all things that you wish you could do, but you can't. That doesn't mean you can't do it now, right? As time has progressed, even from the time that I bought this gym until today, I have slowly whittled down the things that get my time, energy, and resources. And even most recently, and everything, and I'll talk about this at some point, just not today. But the things that have taken my time and attention and resources, um, and peace of mind away from my business, away from what I want to do, away from my ultimate goal. Had I said no to those, how much farther along would I be today? Now, I can't change the past. I can't change the future. Can't predict it. But what I can do right now, and what you can do right now, is take stock of the things in your life. It's the pro and con list. What are the things that get space? What are the things that don't? Who are the people that get a seat at your table and who doesn't? And even if they're at your table right now, do they deserve that seat or not? Are there too many seats at your table? Might be time to remove some of those chairs. It's okay to eat alone. That's a tough one. I've got a lot of emotion tied to this one today, especially in light of things that have happened recently. I could probably talk for hours about this, and it's probably shit that would bore you, but you know, for the purposes of driving home a point and hopefully opening your eyes to it, is if you find yourself constantly saying yes, someone wants your time. Hey, can you meet to talk about this? You might be in the middle of a work day and somebody wants to talk about something else, and you might have the opening in your schedule, but it's going to take away from your concentration and focus on work. I've gotten a little better at that. It's one of those things that as I refine it more and more, I'm finding that my productivity here goes up. In the past, I would feel guilty about spending too much time working. So I would cut my workday short, or I would say, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll get in contact with that person tomorrow. Um, if I have a lead come in the past, I would sit on it and go, oh, I'm done for the day. I'm not working anymore. I got to do that. No, it's going to increase my business. It's going to be a positive ROI, even if that contact that I make doesn't result in money in my bank account. It's refining what I do in my business. So maybe you don't have a business, that's okay. This could be you're listening to this as someone who's consuming content on my social media that's relative to fitness. Maybe you have a training partner that likes to skip out, that's inconsistent, and you really like that training partner. There's a person that I spoke to recently, and this was the case. They have a training partner, and they're on and off and up and down, and they're inconsistent. They like training with this person, but some days they're really on point, and there'll be 2 or 3 days where they just miss the gym, or they'll even try to talk them out of it, like, nah, today's not a good day, and then you end up missing that workout. So in that light, it's okay, maybe I need to say no to this training partner. Maybe I need to say no to this specific gym. It's not my fit. Maybe I need to say no to this coach because it's not a good fit. And that's okay. I would rather a client tell me, hey, this isn't a good fit for my goals, than start with me as a coach and not execute on the process, not execute in the system that I put in front of them. And I have this same conversation with clients on the phone. As I take notes when I'm talking to people, there's 5 things written on the page. One of them is the word fit with a question mark. Because if at any point in a conversation that I have, and I start the conversation by saying this, if at any point I feel that we're not a good fit, it's not in my wheelhouse, I'll say no. Out of respect, because I respect that person's time, energy, and resources. They're already committing to spending, 45 minutes, 60 minutes on the phone with me, hearing what I have to say. And I'm spending 45, 60 minutes listening to what they're having to say. So at any point, if I feel like this isn't right, it's not a good fit, I say no. I've had clients that I've let go because it wasn't a good fit after they've started working with me. Because as I go deeper and deeper into my career and deeper into this coaching business, and I put more into it, more time, energy, and resources, more money, as I advertise more, as I refine it, I'm also trying to refine the types of people that I work with. I won't say yes to everybody anymore, because I know if I say yes to someone that isn't in line with my vision for my business, I'm not going to enjoy it. It's not going to be a good investment of my time. It's not a good ROI. And I'm not going to give them my best. So to wrap this up, what I'd really like you to do is take stock of the things in your life that you're saying yes to. And ask yourself if yes is the right answer, or should you say no? And again, to drive this point home, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. I just wanted to take a minute to thank you for listening to the show. Whether you watched it on YouTube, whether you streamed it on whatever podcast streaming service you choose, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it. This show has been a blast to bring back. I'm enjoying everybody that I'm speaking with, and I'm having a blast making the content that I'm making for you guys. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm here. As you may already know, I'm a coach. I've been a coach for over 20 years, and I've recently changed a lot of how I approach my coaching and the coaching program that I offer. So if that's something you want to know a little bit more about, click on the link in the bio. Check out what I'm about. once I've gained your trust, let's talk about